They say the world doesn't care. They say you're just one in billions, a fleeting thought in the minds of others, if you're lucky. It doesn't matter how many times you've been hurt, how often you've been abandoned, or how many tears you've shed. The truth is, the world moves on without you. It doesn't care about your pain, your suffering, or the battles you fought in silence. And that's where the real battle begins. You stand alone, facing a world that turns its back, waiting for someone to understand, to care, to offer a hand, but nobody comes. You cry out, only to hear the echo of your own voice. It haunts you, doesn't it? That feeling of insignificance, that hollow ache in your chest. The weight of knowing that no matter how hard you try, no matter how loudly you scream, no one's listening. No one's coming. But let me tell you something. You will survive. Not because anyone will suddenly show up to save you, but because you will save yourself. The world isn't fair. It never was. It chews people up and spits them out without a second thought. You've seen it, you've lived it. You've watched people crumble under the weight of expectations, dreams dying like embers in the wind. You've seen the fakeness, the shallow sympathy, the empty promises, and at times you felt like you were the one crumbling too. But here's the thing. You didn't. You didn't crumble. You didn't break. Even when it felt like your soul was tearing apart, you held on. You held on because somewhere deep inside, beneath all the pain and the loneliness, there was something else. Something stronger. A fire that refused to be extinguished, no matter how hard the world tried to put it out. That fire, that's your survival. That's your power. You may be alone, but that doesn't mean you're weak. In fact, being alone has shown you the truth. It stripped away the illusions, the false friendships, the empty gestures. It's shown you who you really are, and more importantly, what you're capable of. The world doesn't care, and that's terrifying at first, isn't it? To realize that no matter how much you scream into the void, it'll never scream back. But once you accept that, once you truly understand that no one's coming to save you, that's when you become dangerous. Because you stop waiting. You stop hoping that someone else will come along to fix things, to make it right, to give you the life you deserve. You realize that it's all on you. Every step forward, every battle fought, every victory won, it's you. Only you. And that's when everything changes. When you stop looking for help from others. When you stop seeking validation. When you no longer care if the world is watching or if it's ignoring you. You realize that none of it matters. What matters is you. What matters is what you're willing to do when no one's looking, when no one's there to cheer you on. Because this world, it's cold. It's harsh. It'll knock you down 1,000 times and then laugh when you struggle to get back up. But here's where you're different. You've been knocked down before. You know what it feels like to hit rock bottom, to taste the bitterness of failure. But you got up. You stood tall, even when every bone in your body screamed for you to stay down. That's the difference between you and them. You've been through the kind of pain that most people can't even imagine. You fought battles in the dark, battles that no one ever saw, battles that no one will ever recognize. But those battles, those scars, they've made you who you are. They've made you stronger. Do you remember those nights? The ones where you couldn't sleep, where the thoughts wouldn't stop racing, where the weight of the world pressed down on your chest until it felt like you couldn't breathe. Those nights where you stared into the darkness, wondering if it was all worth it, if you had the strength to keep going. But you did. You're still here, and that, my friend, is no small thing. Surviving in a world that doesn't care, that's not easy. It's a battle every single day. But you've already proven that you're a fighter. You've already proven that you have what it takes to keep going, no matter how many times life tries to drag you down. And now? Now it's time to rise. Not for them, not for their approval or their applause, but for yourself. You're not just surviving anymore, you're thriving. You're becoming something more, something unstoppable. You see, the world may not care about you. It may never recognize your struggle, may never acknowledge your pain, but you don't need it to. Because you've learned the most important lesson there is. You don't need anyone's permission to be great. You don't need anyone's validation to keep fighting. You don't need anyone's sympathy to stand tall. You've faced the darkness. You've embraced it. And now, it's time to turn that darkness into your strength. The world doesn't care? Good. Let it stay silent. Let it watch as you rise from the ashes of everything it tried to destroy. Let it watch as you forge your own path, as you build something out of nothing, as you become everything they said you couldn't be. Because in the end, it's not about them. It's about you. It's about what you're willing to endure, what you're willing to sacrifice, and how far you're willing to go when no one is watching, when no one believes in you. You're alone in a world that doesn't care. But that's where your power lies, because you will survive, and not just survive, you will thrive. You will rise. You will conquer. The world may not care, but you do, and that's enough. The world doesn't care, but you will survive, because you're stronger than they know. By the way, if you want to level up in life, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.